it's been a little minute since I have posted a video, and I wanted to just take a second to talk about our stories. And one of my favorite books that talks about your story is Take the Stairs by Rory Vaden, I believe. And it talks about like the stories that are in our life. There's the facts of the story, and then there's the story that you're telling yourself, and then there's the story that you're telling other people. So basically 3 vantage points, and probably their story about the whole situation too, but the vantage points in which you can see something. And it's really, really important what you tell yourself. That's probably a super big one. The facts are the facts, right? And most often when we're telling ourselves a story about a situation, we are putting a lot of interpretation on those facts and what they mean and giving it meaning. So here is an example. I had a situation with a relationship that happened, and it upset me, okay? And so the very next day, I could have said anything about that situation. I could have been telling myself. That was the most important story of the time, because I really paid close attention to what was going on in my own mind about that. And there's a million resources online to kind of help you process through that. There is a resource called, I'm going to have to think on that one and get back to you. But there's a worksheet available out there somewhere, and I just have to think of what it is and who wrote it. But it'll walk you through rewriting a story about an individual situation. This is not a recreating your identity type of video. It's just like every day you wake up with a blank page. You do not have to bring a story forward with you into that day. You really don't. I know it sometimes feels like you have to, and that's how I felt during this situation. Like it was weighing on me and whatever, but it helped to just sit down and sort of finish the sentence, so to speak, on that story. I wrote the last bits of that and then asked myself, what do I want to write on the blank page of today? Okay, about that story, or just anything. I don't even have to include it in the story of today if I don't want to. And I'm not saying denial. I'm not saying pretend things don't hurt. I'm not saying deny your feelings and don't process them. I'm not saying any of that. But we get to choose how much space this stuff occupies in our life and what percentage of attention and energy do we give it. And I will say that, like, Melissa Catherine Farley and Dr. Olivia Awdry both taught me at a retreat about energy currency. And so like that just means how much energy. You only have like so much mental and emotional energy to give something. Why not give it to something that's adding a bunch to your life rather than subtracting? So like if you're thinking of your bank account, think of your emotional bank account as well. Sometimes you don't have that kind of energy. Most of us don't have the kind of energy to give to situations that we'll just call them drama. I'm not going to call them trauma because that's a whole nother topic. But like, situations that really don't need to hold that kind of weight, that don't need to carry on and on and on and on and stunt our ability to move forward in life. Give them their due attention. Whatever currency feels like a good value to give that thing, go ahead and give it that attention. Like I said, I needed to sit down and like sort of write it out in my journal to like put a stamp on that's finished. And then on the new page of the next day, what did I really want out of the situation? Is the story I'm telling myself conducive and congruent with what I want? or what I don't want. And a lot of times, if we admit it, it's what we don't want. Like we're focusing all of our energy and attention on all the complaints and all the negativity of the things that we don't want, instead of creating from a space of this is what I want. It takes a little practice. It can be a little wobbly. And that's why I love a journal, because it's a great place to practice literally writing out, scripting, whatever you want to call it, that story in the way that you want it to look and want, like just more congruent. And it may be just that your interpretation might be, this person could use some grace. This person's coming from this space. What I really want is unity. What I really want is peace. Is what I'm doing and saying about the situation lending toward that or not? Or maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want just to go focus on something entirely different. So how are you going to do that? And it really simplifies those messy times in our life that can be so difficult and challenging and feel really heavy. A lot of that has to do with those 3 stories. Remember, you have the facts. And again, this is Rory Vaden, Take the Stairs. It's straight out of his book. I'm pretty sure that's the book. The facts, the story you're telling yourself, that's a really, really important one. That stuff you're saying to yourself as you're walking throughout the day. And then the one you're telling other people. And quite often, not one of those really totally matches. And usually the one you're telling yourself is super duper negative. It's the stuff that you're not really going to say out loud. And you're just presenting a version of the story to other people. So it's important to understand all 3 and to really start getting into the place of them being more congruent with what you want. And some of that can be the way you're speaking, the way you're acting. And you can do a lot of that processing just through journaling. Or if you need to go deeper on a situation, enlist the help of a professional or a coach or whoever facilitates that. Some maybe like a spiritual leader that you have. Whatever works for you, you can find a path forward. And don't let yesterday's story cloud what's available to you today. I hope that encourages you. I hope it's a good resource for you. I hope it helps you live genuinely.